everyone, to make the most of school meals. This is our series hosted by Maryland SNAP Ed, which is part of University of Maryland Extension, to share ways that you can really make sure that any foods you're receiving in your home for your kids through free school meals are being put to every possible good use to feed your kids. So schools have been free to every child in Maryland under the age 18 and under since the start of the pandemic. And every school district is a little different in how they're distributing those meals. But these are such a great resource for families right now who can take advantage of the opportunity to not have to think about what they're feeding their kids for breakfast and lunch. And in some cases, dinner is also provided, but also to save money in their food budget that they can then use to buy other healthy foods. So the other opportunity that's presented is that some foods might not be eaten at the meal that they were provided as a part of, and you can stick those in your refrigerator, and we're sharing ideas for using those ingredients in lots of different ways that you might not have originally considered. So welcome to everyone who is joining us. If you are tuning in, go ahead and post in the chat your location. So if you're in Maryland, your county that you're joining us from. If you're from further afield, post your city and state so we get a sense of who's on. And please post comments and chat and questions in the chat, and we'll be stopping periodically to answer them throughout. So I am joined today by two guests who are doing work across different parts of Maryland to support school meals. Joined by Nate Bratko, who is the Maryland SNAP Ed educator in the Midshore of Maryland, and Elle Menyuk, who works with Great Kids Farm, which is a facility that's part of Baltimore City Public Schools food service. And I will let each of them talk. I'd love for you to share just a tidbit about the farm. We'll hear more later. So let's start with Nate. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on in the counties you work with around school meals distribution?
All right, thanks, Larissa. As she mentioned, I represent the Dorchester County and Talbot County SNAP education program. So our counties have grab and go meal distribution available each week. In Dorchester County, you can take advantage of the grab and go meals today, which is Thursday, at any of the elementary schools and high schools, also available at the Board of Education from 4 to 5:30. In Talbot County, their grab and go distribution occurs at all of their elementary school sites, which is also available on Fridays, which is from 4 to 5:30. Please check their sites, though it does change. And they also provide updates on what the featured meal of the week is. So another organization that's dedicated to school meals that I'd like to mention too in Dorchester County is Meals to Monday. They do offer emergency food services as well as goodie bags for parents that are in need of, or families that are in need of meals. In Talbot County, you could also reach out to their Care Packs program, which is available at Easton Elementary for meal distribution.
Thank you for sharing those resources. Like I said, this is going to be different in every school district, every county. So contact your school district or look at their website for the most current information. So, what Nate underscored, that the Dorchester and Talbot counties are doing once a week meal distribution. So that means on those days, you are getting a bag of food for each child in your household. So what we're seeing for some of the districts, instead of putting things in individual portions, so our featured ingredient today is baby carrots, which is a frequent flyer in school meals. You might be getting individual bags of baby carrots that you might accumulate and could use in your cooking, but some districts are actually consolidating those servings across multiple days into a portion that's more similar from what you get from the grocery store. So instead of getting 10 bags of baby carrots, you might get a regular size 1 or 2 pound bag of carrots. So it's another way you can think of school meals as part of your food budget to serve your kids. So thanks, Nate. And Elle, can you tell us a little bit about what Baltimore City is doing as far as school meals goes and other resources, and also just a quick little intro to what Great Kids Farm is?
Sure. I'm here at Great Kids Farm, which is the outdoor farm center, which is part of Baltimore City Schools. And I am a farm to school specialist, which is an awesome job to have in a school system. And I work for Food and Nutrition Services. So most of what Food and Nutrition Services does is, of course, school meals, which have been emergency meals all the way back to last March. In Baltimore City, we currently have 83 of our schools operating as meal sites. They are open for meal pickup from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And families with city school age children can pick up breakfast, lunch, supper, aka dinner, and snack. That's 4 meals, and they can pick it up for every single school age child in their household, pre-K to 12, and they can pick it up for 2 days. So they can pick up 8 meals per child um, when they come, so you don't have to come each and every single day. At 25 of our schools, we're also sites for the Baltimore City produce boxes, which all of that produce comes from coastal Sunbelt produce. And there are other produce sites all around the city, but 25 schools are produce sites. And parents and families can find out where the produce boxes are or more about school meals on the links that will drop into the Facebook chat on this event. And one other thing I want folks to know, which is a program of the city, is that there's also home delivery boxes. So we'll have the link to find out more about how you can get a home delivery box as well.
Great, thanks. So once again, welcome to everyone who may have just joined us to Making the Most of School Meals. Please introduce yourself in the comments, the location you're joining us from, and post any questions or comments. Also, feel free to respond to any questions that folks have, posted in the chat, or share information about what's going on in your school district. So I love the highlight of the produce boxes that Elle shared. And Nate shared a little bit about other food assistance resources in addition to the fruits and vegetables that are coming in school meals. So it's a great time to highlight fruits and vegetables because these are resources that can be coming into your homes, but also because they're incredibly flexible, they're incredibly healthy. We all know that. But cooking with fruits and vegetables can be a lot of fun because you can get your kids involved and because they're really just unlimited ways you can swap out fruits and vegetables based on what you have. So with that, we are going to go ahead and get started with Nate, who's going to be preparing oven roasted vegetables for us. So go ahead and let us know what you're going to be cooking, Nate.
All right, thanks, Carissa. So the recipe we're going to highlight today is a SNAP-Ed recipe. It is oven roasted vegetables. Before we get started in the recipe, I'm going to take just a minute and talk about the equipment that we're going to use today and some of the kitchen tools and my setup. So a lot of the families, and I get a lot of questions sometimes of like, well, how can I become like a better cook in the kitchen, or how do I improve some of those skills in cooking to kind of make it easier and to save my family time. Oftentimes we don't have a lot of time to prepare meals if we have a family to also take care of as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is really talk about my cutting board and how I set up with a cutting board. Now you can use a flexible cutting board that I got here, a plastic one, but really the most important thing is make sure that we're using clean tools that are cleaned and washed. So same thing with our area. We want to make sure we remove any clutter from the area so we have a nice clean workspace. I've already washed my hands, but another great practice to do is to wash your hands before you get started working with any kind of food. So I went ahead and already started that. I placed a wet paper towel underneath my cutting board. This helps prevent the cutting board from slipping and sliding. So when you are cutting things, it will prevent it from moving around on you. So next we have our knives. We are going to be using some knives. So I have a couple different knives that I'll just quickly talk about. When you select a knife, you want to select a knife, the right knife for the job. So depending on the size of the vegetable, that kind of will dictate, what knife you want to use. If it's something small, as in we're chopping baby carrots or fruit, maybe a utility or a paring knife. If we're chopping medium-sized vegetables, maybe something a little bit bigger. And then I have your standard chef knife for larger, harder vegetables or harder foods that are tough to cut. So we are going to use the chef knife today because we're going to be chopping some carrots, and we're also going to be using a sweet potato. So, I have a roasting pan, a 9x13 baking pan for our vegetables. You could also use a sheet pan. That also works very well too. And another handy thing for your for cooking is maybe a paper plate or a bowl to put vegetable scraps in. So if there's any trash or vegetable scraps, you could set those aside versus trying to make frequent trips to the garbage can or cluttering up. So whenever you cut anything, you could just place it to the side over here. So
Yeah, something I always think about with the pan size you're using, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't really matter if you're using a big, small roasting pan, but if the closer stuff is packed together, the longer it'll take to cook if it has room to spread out and be in contact with that hot pan or baking sheet, that it'll cook a little faster. So
great, yeah. So
use what you got.
yeah, the size really does make a difference. So we're going to use some baby carrots to start. So if you get packages of baby carrots like this in the lunch, you could just go ahead and place those in your pan like we're doing right here. What's great about they come in the pack, they're already washed and they're ready to eat. So if they come in a package that's washed and ready to eat, we don't need to take an extra step by washing them. So it is convenient to have those. But if you get whole carrots from the grocery store or whole carrots in a meal box, make sure you do take the time to wash that outer skin. So carrots, they grow in the ground and they will, you want to make sure that we get all the dirt and wash and scrub all of our produce before we start cooking it. Same thing with the sweet potato. I've washed it and dried it, my broccoli, and also if you get apples in that meal box, you can use an apple too, which I've already washed. So let's go ahead. We're going to get started. We're going to begin with our carrot. I'm going to show you some fun ways to cut a carrot that is makes it fun to eat, but also if you have children and engaging them in helping out with preparing meals. So a simple task that they could do is using a peeler and peeling them. So if giving them a knife makes you uncomfortable, you can always start your children by peeling vegetables. Washing and peeling vegetables are great tasks for them to begin doing and helping out with cooking. So you can also leave this peel on. Just make sure you scrub it. I've seen more and more people keep the peel on carrots because they like the flavor. So it's your preference on what you'd like to do. We're going to place that on our plate over here. So we're going to remove the end. Now you could just, when we're cutting, to hold a knife, we're just going to hold it where the handle meets the blade. We're going to pinch that. They call that a tang, but we're going to pinch it right here. Now, where to place our fingers and our other hand while we're chopping is we're going to use our 3 fingers, as you can see here, and we're going to curl those under like a paw, like you do like a little bear paw. So in our thumb is holding our pinky nice and secure. So we're scouts, scouts honor. So curl those fingers down, and we're going to keep a firm hold on our whatever we're chopping, keeping the tip of the knife pointed downward and away from you. We're just going to slowly rock, and you can make little rings or circles with your carrot just like that. Place those in. But another fun cut that I like to do is I like to cut it on an angle. So we're going to turn our carrot slightly, and we're going to they call this a bias cut. So we're just going to make some cuts on the bias. So we have some ovals, which are great shapes too. And we're going to take it one more step, and we're going to cut that oval in half. As you can see, it kind of gives it like a fun little shape for children. And if we have picky eaters, and I hear a lot of questions from parents of, my child is picky, what can I do? Sometimes it's just maybe cutting it into fun shapes or different shapes, and giving them different shapes to try, and maybe that will help. So the more times you try a food, so patience does work better than pressure when we're trying foods. So
Absolutely. I can say that for my kids from personal experience. Also, I think the size too, when you think about the size of their mouths, and also if they're trying something for the first time, giving a great big whole carrot coin might be a little bit more intimidating and harder for them to get in their mouth than if you give them smaller portions. So well, how does the size though, when you're doing the cuts, how does that impact the cooking?
that's a great question. So with this dish, obviously, if we have a larger carrot, if I cut it in large pieces, it's going to take longer to cook. So by cutting it into smaller, more manageable pieces, you'll save time when preparing meals, and it will um, shorten your cooking time. So the size does make a difference on your cooking time. So as you could see, for this dish, since we're having a few different types of vegetables, we want to make sure that they're roughly all about the same size. So the carrots cook at the same time as, say, our sweet potatoes and our broccoli and even our apples. So we're going to move on to our sweet potato. When you're cutting your sweet potato, you want to make sure that you're cutting on a flat surface so it doesn't roll around. So we're going to create that flat surface, cut it in half first, and then we're going to stand it up. And then we're going to make 2 more cuts. As you can see, it's a nice flat, it doesn't move. And then we're just going to make some squares. So we're going to cut it in strips, turn it 90 degrees, and then we're going to cut 2 more cuts and make some squares just like that. So that's our sweet potato. It's going to go in our dish. And then we're going to move on to our broccoli. Now, another fun task for children to do is to prepare the broccoli. You don't necessarily need a knife to do it. They can just pull the broccoli florets. So we're going to add some broccoli florets. We're going to keep the stems on because they have a lot of great nutrition to them too, and it's also kind of a fun cut they can choose. It's a little trees, mini trees. So we're going to add those in. If you want to cut them into smaller, maybe these are a little bit big. They can tear them or break them into smaller pieces, and that's what I like about broccoli. It's so easy to prepare. And the last ingredient that we're going to add to our roasted vegetables is apples. So if you're getting those school meals and the apples are just piling up at home, roast them. They go great with this recipe in roasted vegetables. So you could take the core out. I have an apple core, like this. You just plunge it in, and it's another fun tool for children to use too and help out. So we're gonna cut that in half, and we're gonna just make some apple cuts, more squares, and we're gonna add that to our pan too. Also, if use a pan that fits all the vegetables. So adding to this, once we have our vegetables in our pan, we're just going to take 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. And Krista, did we post the recipe is posted in the chat box, right?
Yeah, we will get the recipe posted in the chat box so everybody has
Okay, so you could try this at home, and then you could post and take pictures and show us how you like it. So, and what you thought of it. We're going to use some dried Italian herbs, or you could use fresh herbs too, but I had some dried Italian herbs. So it's about a teaspoon of herbs, just like that. We're going to add too much salt, but just a pinch of salt. And a little bit of pepper, just like that.
So the recipe calls for, I believe, oregano, but you could use any dried herb that you like. You could also use spices instead. I think that something like cumin or curry powder would be really delicious on this. And spices are another thing that you can get your kids to experiment with. Engages their senses, letting them smell them. Shaking on the spices is a great thing, and that's something that feels very chefy when they get involved in it. So and you also get to find out what your family likes when you're experimenting with spices.
And it gives them a little creativity to it. And they can
Exactly.
kind of make it their own. So I just kind of taught, move the vegetables in the pan just to kind of incorporate the oil and the seasoning into it. When you're not using your knife or your tools, you could make sure you wash and put them away right away if you're not done with them, or you could place them at the top of your cutting board so that way they don't get in the way and they're nice in a safe location. So let's go ahead. We're gonna place these in an oven, in a 425-degree oven, for approximately 15 minutes. And Chris, I believe you're going to check back with us when they're done.
Yes. So we are going to, in a second, switch back to Elle and for her to talk to us a little bit about growing carrots at Great Kids Farm. Before we do that, just want to welcome anyone who has joined us. Thanks for being here as we talk about great ways to use the components of school meals to stretch your food budget. So we talked about the fact that school districts in Maryland are providing between 2 and 3 meals per day for 5 to 7 days a week per your school districts. The districts are doing things differently, so definitely check with your school district about the distribution days, locations, and whether you're getting 1 day, 2 days, up to 5 to 7 days at a time. But just think about the value to your family. School meals, if you paid full price for them, would be about $3 a piece. Multiply that by 2 days, 2 meals a day, it's $6 a day. 5 days a week is $30. Or if you're getting 3 meals a day, that's $9 times up to 7 days a week. So that's up over $60 that could be in your pocket to be able to spend on other healthy foods for your family. And then make the most of these meals by having your kids eat them, encouraging them to eat the healthy foods. And if there's leftovers, use them in other creative recipes to serve to them as part of other meals. So the other thing is, this is, as we've been touching on, a great way to get your kids involved in the kitchen and curious and interested about foods. And we're going to talk to Elle at Great Kids Farm about getting kids even more interested by teaching them about the growing process. So Elle is in the greenhouse, one of my favorite places on the planet, which is Great Kids Farm. So tell us a little bit about what you have going on there.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm really glad to have you here with me at Great Kids Farm today. Once again, this is the outdoor farm center that is part of Baltimore City Schools. And normally every day during the school day, we'd have different Baltimore City Schools field trips. Out here, we'd have students planting, tasting, visiting our animals, learning about our compost system, and so much more. And since the pandemic started, we've been running virtual field trips for every grade and any subject, excuse me, to connect what they're learning back to the farm, whether it's history or social studies, whether it's plant science, whether it's weather and climate science, whatever it might be. There's always a connection to food, because food is what connects all of us to each other and to our land, and really to this earth and our universe. I am so excited to show you some of our little baby carrots that we have growing here at the farm. So I'm going to flip my camera around. Here we go. Little view of our greenhouse, some new baby plants starting to grow, getting ready for spring already. And here we have a not glorious or glamorous looking box of carrots growing. You can see they've been here for a while. So the leaves are starting to get a little bit turned over, which could actually be a good sign for the part of the carrot that we eat, which I'm sure many of you know is actually the root of the carrot plant. So this is its stem and its leaves. And deep down under here is the tap root of the carrot plant that we eat. And we're actually going to do a little harvest here. Very simple. Got our nice loose soil. We're just going to pull some carrots up and see what we see. All right. We've got some really sweet little orange baby carrots. I think we had some purple ones here. I'm going to see if I can pull up a purple one. We got some purple. Oh, yeah. Check those out. We've got some purple carrots going.
Beautiful.
These are our beautiful carrots. And I'm not going to take a bite out of these without washing them. So with a little Zoom magic, here we go. I have some pre-washed carrots that we pulled out of the ground so you can kind of snap them open, see what they look like. They're actually really beautiful, these purple carrots. They're still kind of yellow orange on the inside, but purple on the outside. And I'd love to know any questions you have for me, Krissa.
Yeah, so a couple of things. I noticed you said these are baby carrots, but they look different than the baby carrots we get in packs at the store. Kind of different shape and obviously the different colors.
Sure. Yeah, great question. So, as you can see here, I'm going to pull these over to our bench. Um, these are full carrots, right? They have the full taproot, they've got the stem and the leaves attached. And I'm calling them baby carrots because they were grown really close together. You can see we've packed them in here, so the root doesn't have a lot of space to spread out. And because we could have let them grow bigger for longer, and we're just pulling them up when they're young, which means they're going to be a little sweeter and tastier and more kid size and fun. Most of the baby carrots that you're buying at the grocery store that are, have that specific little cut shape are actually cut by machines from larger carrots to be baby carrot size. Just like y'all were talking about of cutting things smaller to make them kid friendly, they're sort of pre-cut, kid friendly, snack friendly sizes, but we like to grow our own baby sized ones here.
Great. Now, how long, do you know how long they've been growing when those were planted to get to that size?
I don't know the exact planting date of these ones. That's a great question. But they've been growing in these boxes for at least 10 weeks now. Carrots have a pretty long growing season, but then once they're in, they can stay for a while.
Wonderful. Yeah, when I grow carrots at home, I've been amazed sometimes there were some that got left behind in the fall and then they're still good in the springtime. You can pull them out.
So these might have been here for longer than you would maybe typically keep a carrot in the ground if you were a production farm that was just turning your produce over to get it out of the ground and plant a new one.
Great. So I have someone in the chat, Ms. Gregory, who I believe says she's from Dayspring Head Start, who said our preschoolers would have loved to see this. So the video is going to be on our feed. It'll also be saved to our YouTube channel that you can share. But can you share a little bit about how, if there's any city schools teachers that are attending or parents of Baltimore City Schools kids who want to share this with their with their child's teacher, how they can sign up for a virtual session with the farm?
Sure. We, again, are a Baltimore City Schools program. So unfortunately, if you are not a Baltimore City Schools employee or parent, our virtual field trips are not open to non-city schools participants. For city schools, we'll have a link that we'll post, and you can ask your teacher to sign up, or if you are the teacher, you can just go ahead and sign up. You just put in the date that you would like to have your virtual field trip, and for 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the content, we will give you a grand tour of the greenhouse. We'll visit our chickens and turkeys, and link that to whatever content you're interested in, whether it's cultural, whether it's learning the parts of plants, whether it's counting and math on the farm, algebra on the farm. It really, we could kind of go anywhere with it, and we love to get creative and do that.
So if kids are attending from home and their parents are there, have you had parents watching these Meet the Farmer as well with their students?
Yes, we call it FaceTime the Farmer. And yeah, we've had parents or siblings kind of join in and ask questions, and we're super happy to have them.
The great thing about gardening is that the sort of wow factor, it transcends all ages. So I just love that. So, well, I just can't thank you enough.
Everyone's day. And one other thing I wanted to share is we do have another link I'll make sure gets posted to our virtual second grade field trip, which really any grade could use the videos from. And we have a little bit more that's really specific to our nutrition and includes a little puppet show. And we talk about things like the vitamins you might find inside of our tasty vegetables, like carrots are known for helping your eyesight, which comes from vitamin A, also known as beta carotene. It's not a coincidence that they have the same word. And, we show a little tasting because it's not only fun to grow these things, but of course to take a delicious bite.
Wonderful.
Really, I only wish it was roasted with some sweet potato and broccoli. That would be better. So I'll let y'all get back to that recipe.
Well, thank you so much, Elle, and thanks for sharing all that wonderful information. And I hope that there's some folks who are part of the Baltimore City school systems who will take advantage of this resource. So wonderful. Now we're going to go back to Nate and see how our vegetables are doing. So in the meantime, Nate, just wanted to again thank everyone who's joined us and is participating in the chat. We have someone joining from Denmark. Welcome, Peter. As well as everyone else from across Maryland, or maybe who hasn't shared where they're from. But and thanks for the comments and correspondence in the chat. You guys are sort of answering each other's questions. One person suggested that one of the flavorings we could add to the roasted vegetables would be garlic. We mentioned herbs and spices, but yeah, garlic, roasted onions. So much sweetness comes out when you roast naturally sweet vegetables and aromatics.
Yeah, and this is a great recipe that you could really you can make it your own. There's really no right or wrong way to prepare it. So let's go ahead and take a look at our vegetables that we have. So we started some vegetables ahead of time just to make sure that we were keeping our schedule. So here is what they look like. The finished product looks like. As you could see when we roast the vegetables, the color it just really comes out. And I don't know if you could hear it sizzle. It smells delicious. So I'm just gonna hold that up so you all can get a good look at it. So it looks great. What we're gonna do is we are going to add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar at when it comes out of the oven. And what adding vinegar does to this is it helps bring out some of those flavors and kind of make the flavors really pop. So it's a flavor enhancer that does not a healthy way to make vegetables more appealing too. So and also it brightens up the color. You could use lemon juice is also okay. White vinegar, your favorite type of vinegar. That's a wonderful thing. There's so many different options and ways to do this. So let's go ahead and place these. You got the broccoli, the carrots. We'll place these a nice big serving on your plate. And this could be served also with like like pork chops, protein. If you don't want to do protein, it could be some canned beans. So there are just many different ways to prepare this. It could also be prepared with frozen vegetables. So don't be afraid to use frozen vegetables or even canned vegetables. There's just many different ways to use vegetables in this recipe. So
could you hold that plate up kind of close to the camera so we could get a look at that? Because I love how you highlighted the mix of colors. We eat with our eyes, so the colors, but then also there's going to be different textures in there. The aromas from the vegetables, from the spices, and then the sweetness and a little tang from the vinegar. So wonderful. It's a really beautiful way to make the most of fruits and vegetables that you're getting from school meals, or perhaps if you're getting produce boxes, really try to stretch every ounce of those. So thank you so much, Nate. It's a beautiful, beautiful presentation. And I love the cooking skills highlights. I thank everybody for participating and for sharing information in the chat. If you are watching and you do not know where or when your school district is distributing meals, your homework for right now is to go to your school district's website, find out that information, call if you need to. School districts want you to participate. There's no income eligibility. Parents can pick up for students. So make sure you're marking your calendar to go out and get meals at the next available opportunity to take advantage of this resource. So thanks to Nate, thanks to everybody who participated, thanks to Elle and Great Kids Farm. And we look forward to seeing you back here next Thursday at 11 a.m. We're going to be featuring milk, which is absolutely an ingredient that is showing up a lot with school meals. And we'll have a really fun, kid-friendly way to prepare dish for your kids using those extra milks that might be in your refrigerator. So thanks so much to everybody, and we will see you back here soon.